It all starts with this. A jewel containing the ultimate power.
Sorry, I don't know, I just got lost in thought. Let's take a seat for a quick second. So, in case any of you were wondering, yes, I got one of the 7 Chaos Emeralds. What do I do with it? If you're wondering how I actually managed to acquire one, well, it's a funny story. What the fuck? But yeah, special ring spawning out of nowhere, that's gotta mean something, but...
This shit's horrible.
I'm too lazy to fucking figure it out. Speaking of laziness, I kind of forgot to talk about Shadow Generation, so might as well talk about it. Although, you kind of need physical place because it's a little bit dirty. I mean, maybe? Chaos Control! Really? I thought it was gonna— whoa! Hey, not bad. Where'd I get this? Alright, well, that just happened. Alright, let's talk about Sonic. After my feet get over the whiplash.
Sonic Generations was a pretty good game, and while there were surely a few issues that it had, mainly being, we had too many side quests, and personally I did think classic Sonic, when he's shit, he plays like shit, but when he's pretty good, he plays really well. But the majority of the good things we had in the game honestly outweighed the negatives. We had pretty fun nostalgic moments in the game, and the story, well, it felt more decent than it did back in 2011, as Ian Flynn did fix up most of the writing. It's not great, but it's honestly perfectly much better than 2011, at least in my opinion. But that was not the only game included. Remember, this game is called Sonic X Shadow Generations. But what could that honestly mean? Will Shadow have some kind of role to play in the original Generations? Is there something that Shadow's going to be doing? Will he be an extra character in Generations? Will he be his own main character? Or maybe not that.
For this review, we're taking a look at Shadow Generations, the second campaign that comes with the bundle of the game. And already, I gotta say, I'm already a fan of it. Not even jumping in. But yeah, let's go into it.
Love you, I'm great.
Thought I should also mention I am using the Essential Animations mod for Shadow. It just makes his boost animation just look more like he's skating instead of just floating. Just thought I'd bring that up. Alright, so for this review we're going to do it a little bit differently. Unlike in the previous reviews where we've gone into full breakdowns of the story and gameplay for each time we looked at Kingdom Hearts or Sonic Generations last time, I think it's better if we just do it in a more brief synopsis instead of just doing a full down breakdown of the entire game. As cool as it is to do, it does take a lot of time, so hopefully you enjoy this new structuring. But we will save this whole full breakdown structuring for big games that I do want to tackle. Stuff like the Kingdom Hearts numbered entries or Ratchet and Clank. But hey, we'll hold off on it. So what's our story? Well, Before we start even the game itself, we're gonna have to go on YouTube and search up Shadow X Sonic Generations Dark Beginnings. This is more of a prequel trilogy of episodes showing off Shadow remembering his past, but the subsequent events that happened on the arc happened differently. Example, Gemerald showing up, the gun soldiers raiding the arc early, and later we find out that it is a dream. In episode 2, Shadow meets up with Rouge and Omega at an Eggman base and asks Rouge for help to get to the arc, because he believes that Black Doom has returned. Rouge says she'll help, and in return, Shadow shows up for Sonic's birthday, a nod to, the original Generations for its continuity. And so they agree. In episode 3, they arrive at the gun base, and Shadow manages to get on top of the shuttle so that he can reach the arc. As it's launching, gun troops prepare to shoot at the shuttle, but then the commander, Abraham, shows up and tells all the gun soldiers to stand down. Rouge then shows him the intel she brought her, which shows the Time Eater, again another nod to the original Generations. They think about the past as they remember the time when Shadow saved the world from Black Doom before. And they even think about Maria and stuff. And Shadow then starts to remember Maria, but reminds himself to stay focused on the mission. And in the bonus ending we see that Black Doom is on the arc, and noticing Shadow approaching. And that's the end of the prequel animation. Overall, I gotta say, I love the animation used for it, and the color and framework and everything about it. Honestly, it looks great, especially during the dream sequences though. And the fight with Gemerald, I think, is the main thing that really pulled me into this prequel animation. Overall, it's amazing to watch through. I highly recommend it if this is your first time tackling Shadow Generations. But moving on into the game itself, as we start off in a flashback where Gerald and Maria are about to wake up Shadow for the first time. We then fade into more of an abandoned version of the laboratory Shadow was born in. Rouge then calls Shadow and asks where he is. He says that he's on the arc, and while she's at the birthday party. Shadow then recaps everything that happened before and talked about how Gunn detected an anomalous life form, the anomalous life form being, Black Doom. And then he starts noticing some weird disturbances in reality, or whatever the fuck this is. He then thinks about it and starts heading towards it, figuring out what it is. And the first stage we start with is Space Colony Arc. But midway into the stage, we finally catch up to what Shadow's been chasing the whole time. We see a Doom's Eye. Suddenly, the Doom Eye starts changing up reality around itself into a version of Radical Highway. And after catching up to him and beating him up, we're able to collect a weird medallion. We then escape the distortion, finish the stage, and we're inside the room where we find the Chaos Emerald that Tails created in Sonic Adventure 2. And just then, the Time Eater shows up and proceeds to basically do what it did during the opening of Generations. Proceeds to take everything and turn it into the white space. And then we see Shadow wake up inside the white space, but a different place of it. And we also see Omega, but just like in the original Generations, he's not going to really do much. He just commentates on what's going on around him. But much like in Sonic Generations, there are 2 acts to every zone. So does that mean we have a classic Shadow?
No, hell no. Look, hot take incoming, okay? I personally think a classic Shadow is not really necessary for the Sonic timeline, alright? Look, I get it. Shadow, like Sonic, they have to have a classic counterpart, but look, I personally just think it's unnecessary, and we really don't need it, honestly. If Sega really does ever implement a sort of classic Shadow, like we imagine he would look like, yeah, it'd be cool, but personally, I just don't see it as being a necessary thing to add. It'd be cool, but unnecessary.
Going back to it, no classic Shadow this time, but instead we just get Shadow stages in 2D or 2.5D, and personally, I like them. It just feels fun to just mow down a bunch of enemies, and plus, the devs did their best to try and make these 2.5D sections very cinematic. Great places I like to think of were Sunset Heights and Chaos Island, at least for me. We should also probably discuss the Doom abilities. Alright, immediately I already love them. I'm glad that Sega's trying new ways to basically implement different kind of mechanics into, Sonic's standard, running and stuff. And overall, I think it's done well. I mean, these abilities are honestly great, and they're very quick and easy to use, and they fit well with, the modern Sonic, playstyle. The same is also said for the Chaos Control. I mean, in previous games, I don't really think we've ever seen Chaos Control used that much, aside from Shadow the Hedgehog, but let's be honest, that one kind of was alright. I don't know, I can't form an opinion on it. But overall, I think Chaos Control is used very well in this game, and plus, if you're able to actually put a lot of hours in this game, you can actually use Chaos Control to your advantage to get the best times into how many times you can activate it. You know, you can stop time and get a better record than previously. Overall, I think Chaos Control is implemented pretty well. Speaking of time, I should also probably mention the online play. Same thing as Generations. You know, basically just time trials, but you know, you can beat them with your friends and stuff. No one ever uses this stuff unless you really care about getting the highest score, and then again, I feel like fucking people just hack this game just to fucking get the highest score. I don't know, I think that's just me. As for our stage setup, we have Space Colony from SA2, Rail Canyon from Heroes, Kingdom Valley from 06, Sunset Heights from Forces, surprisingly, and Chaos Island. This is honestly a great setup of stages that have come from the future games and past games. I say future as in post-Generations release. I hope that makes sense. I know there's one more stage we need to talk about, but we'll save it for when, you know, we actually cover it around the end. And while some stages are just, you know, the stages by themselves, just that come with collectibles and stuff, others have a little bit of a twist to them, in which sometimes during the stage you'll reach the second half in which Doom's Eye will appear and proceed to twist reality around to take you back to Radical Highway. So, you know, you'll be playing through Rail Canyon being like, Sonic Heroes! And then Doom's Eye will just show up and be like, but Radical Highway's so cool! And then you'll just appear for no reason. It's like being taken to Detroit when you least expect it. And hey, look, Radical Highway is the final stage. Who would have guessed it? Although the second act is not a 2.5D stage, it is something else, and it scares me. As for the boss fights, we have a good selection here. We got the DANIELIEZER, which makes sense. He is related to Shadow, and you know, he was the prototype of the ultimate life form. We have Neo Metal in his Metal Overlord form, which makes sense. I mean, he did still beat the bits of Shadow's DNA. This also technically counts as modern Metal Sonic's appearance, since, you know, we had Classic and Generations. And then we also have Mephiles from 06, which makes sense. He took the appearance of Shadow through his own shadow. And I do like his final cry where he says that he wants to exist, which is honestly pretty dark. And then there's Sonic.
Yeah, I wish we had a fight. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I love this cutscene and everything. It's great. I wish we had some more stuff like this where cutscenes implemented gameplay mechanics. You know, the characters play the game themselves. But I just wish we had an actual Sonic boss fight, because honestly, the only thing we have to compare to that is Sonic Adventure. And that was like a few years back, honestly. And looking at all the cool animations, the new boosts and stuff, not to mention they implemented the mechanics of the fucking gravity thing, which, yeah, that's cool. I just wish we had something like that. But at least we got confirmation that, you know, the rival fight between Sonic and Shadow, Sonic technically won that canonically. So yeah. We also have collectibles, just like in the original, but this time we got no red rings or Chow to find. This time we're looking for specific type gears. With these gears and bolts you can find in the overworld, you basically look out for chests that are in the overworld and use them to unlock stuff. This can be mostly just story memos relating to anything that Shadow was in for a previous game. We also have concept art, which, you know, cool to look at, but I mean, I guess it's nice to have like a modern version of like artwork that's like sometimes hard to find. And we also have music chests, you know, to unlock more music, but considering this game has already given us most of the modern soundtracks that we like, we mostly just get music from stages like Shadow the Hedgehog, which is not a bad thing, but, you know. But while we're on the subject, I do want to talk about one extra thing, is that, I don't know, the music in this game, I love it all, you know, makes sense, but honestly, I wish we had a bit of like a more better version of it. Specifically, that one, the music, this is a minor nitpick, but for Shadow, whenever you restart a stage, the music track doesn't restart. Now, in Generations it does that, but I don't know, it's a small nitpick, I get it, but come on, for people who want to make those, like, timely beats, people, they would just exit the stage and then restart it from there. I don't know, I just wish we had, I wish the game just was more better, in which you could just retry the stage and the music restarts as well. But alongside that, we also have tracks from like the more modern titles like Undefeatable, I'm Here.
but yet they're not visible in the original generations. And the same goes vice versa. We have tracks like Rock Through Gravity, or actually no, that one's already in there. But I do believe there's some tracks that aren't, like Endless Possibilities, that's one. And that's not even in Shadow. Like, I get it, Shadow was not featured in Unleashed, but still, that's a great track to hear. And I kind of wish we had those tracks. I wish more so that you could merge both tracks and put them in both games. I know that modders are going to probably fix this, thankfully, but I don't know. I just feel like Sega could have just combined both tracks together, and it would have been a much better experience, honestly. Also, come on. Where's I'm Here Revisited? I like the original I'm Here, but come on. I'm Here Revisited is much more of a bop, in my opinion. And yet, that's not here. Come on, guys. Put Vandalize in there as well. Come and leave your mark. Fuck, what was that? The challenge gates also show up here, and they also do offer their own rewards, more concept art, and more music tracks, of course. But unlike in the original generations, where they were basically over 7 or 10, I don't remember, and they're like for both Sonic and Classic, which equates around, you know, a lot of playtime to saying. This time, we have only just 2 challenge gates showing up for each act of every zone. And honestly, yeah, I think it's a much better paced out version. I do think that the original one had that many, mainly due to, you know, having all the characters have something to do. Doesn't make it better that, you know, they still don't do anything in the main story, but, you know, that's alright. But I do like this new pace, as it doesn't, like, over-saturate the runtime of this game. They're fun challenges to do, of course, and honestly, yeah, that's it. But might as well get into it before, because I forgot to write it into the script. There are also hard mode versions of each one. There's only one, of course. No oversaturation. And I will admit, they are really tough. I will admit. Same goes for the hard mode version of the bosses. Yes, I didn't talk about that later in the script as well. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, they do offer a much more challenge to the game. So if you need more challenges and think the boss fights weren't that hard, or the challenges in the game weren't, there you go. Only unlock it after you beat the game.
And that's Shadow Generations. Well, up to the end, but you get the point. Overall, I feel like this is a pretty solid package of a game. It honestly feels like Sega actually went back and actually looked at the complaints for the original generations and honestly improved a lot to make this one feel more definitive. But I do want to comment on the models. Is I do think Sonic and Shadow look great in this game. The texture on their fur, or I guess I don't know how they're doing it with these models, because I don't think they're like plastering a sort of texture over them. They give them like a sort of fur-like look. It also looks great. I mean, I do hear people saying that, okay, these models are honestly less than dead. We need some new ones to go to complement the next generation or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, like, I get it. Mario's getting a new model and shit, so it would be nice to get something brand new for, you know, the next series of Sonic games. And we might get one. Who knows? But overall, for what we got, I think this is like the best versions of these models, honestly. Plus, I even like how for Shadow's red highlights, I don't know if they're really painted on or something like that. It honestly looks pretty cool. You could actually see like little details where it looks like it's just like a painted tattoo or like ripples on a shirt. I don't know, something like that. And I don't know. I just like details. I like seeing details like that. It looks pretty cool. But all right, I think it's time we wrap this up. So let's finish this up by talking about
Tokyo DLC. Since Sonic 3 is coming out, and by the way, I went out to go see it. Awesome movie. I highly recommend it. Alongside the release of that game, they decided to make a DLC related to the movie, mainly towards Shadow, because, you know, Shadow kind of has a main plot in that movie. Anyways, for this DLC, a portal shows up out of nowhere. Fucking motorcycle! Portal shows up out of nowhere in the white space and opens up a world ring similar to the ones that we saw in the Sonic movie. And Shadow gets close to it and proceeds to get pulled into it. After that, we end up in a version of Tokyo Shibuya. Why does shit always go down in Shibuya? We had it with Persona, we had it with where we're gonna have it with Kingdom Hearts, and now here. What's next? Who's showing up next? Kirby? Anyways, after Shadow gets sucked in, he basically turns into movie Shadow, including having the Keanu Reeves voice, which, I'll be honest, I feel like he did not give his all when he did the recording for these lines. I don't know, it just sounds like they just rushed it, just because, you know, he's a busy guy and they had to film the movie. But for what we got for only being $5, it's an amazing playthrough of the stage. Honestly, the cinematics alone are kind of what mainly intrigued me about it. Plus, yeah, it's only $5. It's not really much to go off of. Sure, I mean, we don't really get much out of it, especially with the collectibles. All you can do is just find 6 posters of Shadow doing poses, and that's kind of it. But overall, I think it's a pretty nice DLC, and hopefully they at least make more DLC like this, as it has been teased by Shadow that he might return back.
Okay, now let's actually talk about the ending, and honestly, for what we got for the ending, I honestly enjoyed it, but I do wish we had a bit more to it, like more involvement with the other characters, like Gerald and Maria.
Look, I'm not gonna say I'm a good storyteller, but I just want to offer my take on what the original final act of this game could have been. Before we do, let's at least cover the original parts. After collecting all the Doom Wings, the entire area turns into a reddish hellscape as black arm aliens start showing up in parts that start reforming, or materializing I guess, into Radical Highway. Shadow meets up with Gerald and Maria. Gerald says that he is sorry for putting Shadow on this path, but he's proud of how he walked it, treating him like his own son. And Maria and Shadow have one last chat about fighting for what Maria believes in to make everyone happy. And so he heads off. We climb up parts of the Radical Highway stage, and we finally enter the biblically accurate angel thing. Yeah, no, this thing's not the boss fight. Sorry guys if you wanted that to be the final fight. But anyways, we do Act 1 for Radical Highway, which, you know, it's kind of like Act 1, but it's actually much more a better stage because it's actually built for both the Doom Wings and, you know, Shadow without the Doom Wings. TLDR, basically the Doom Wings are basically the super transformation, you know, because Sonic's doing his own supersonic stuff. But overall, the Doom Wings are honestly a pretty nice power-up. They're great to control, and it even turns the boost meter into basically a wing gauge for how long you can glide for. Plus, you have infinite boost and invincibility, so yeah, basically a super transformation. But overall, the stage is actually built around flying instead of just, you know, traveling along the pathway. So honestly, I appreciate for having some kind of section. It honestly makes me wish that we had sections that were dedicated to super power-ups. Like, I don't know, some kind of stage built around a super transformation. Sonic Mania almost had something like that, but, you know, that kind of just got canceled. But as for Act 2, I will admit, when I first did it on stream, Jesus Christ, I don't know how I was able to do it, but I just kept getting stuck over and over again. I'm glad the stage allows me to, like, reactivate my Doom Wings whenever I feel like it, because, you know, you need 50 rings, so yeah, the stage honestly replenishes you enough in case you die. But overall, I will admit, the second act of Radical Highway is honestly impressive as hell. It honestly makes me think that this could have been, like, what Infinite was trying to go for with the whole Phantom and reality stuff. I wish we had something like that for Sonic Forces, but alas, we don't. Now, back to that whole take thing, I honestly think it would have been better if, you know, Black Doom showed up at the last minute to kidnap Maria and basically, yeah, kidnap Maria. I get it, she's a 12-year-old and, you know, she can't really do much and she would probably die in a situation like that. But I think it would have honestly been great because the story that they've had, or for at least Shadow at least, is him not trying to give in to his anger, thinking about the past and stuff. And honestly, I think this would have been great, a great, like, sort of lesson learned kind of situation where after Maria's kidnapped, Gerald starts to, like, you know, crash out, I guess. Sorry, I don't mean to use that kind of term. Basically starts to tweak pretty much. And we get to see glimpses of, like, the psychoticness that we would see in Sonic Adventure 2. Not super crazy Gerald, but at least a glimpse into what his psyche is. And we would have Shadow basically calm down Gerald and explain to him that giving into his anger isn't going to help us. I know that's a bad thing to write in because, you know, he would have learned that in Sonic Adventure 2 and it would ruin the continuity, basically. It would ruin the continuity of the entire story. But I just think it would have been a nice, like, lesson learned for Shadow. You know, live and learn. Sorry. But anyways, I don't know, that's just my take of it. I don't think it works that well, but I think it would have been a great take to have. You know, have more involvement with the characters instead of just having them be, like, side characters standing on the side, giving us future lore, which we'll cover that later on. But after all that, it's finally time to challenge Black Doom. Once we confront him, he starts transforming into the Devil Doom. Is that his name? Oh my god, it is, thank god. Our fight starts off in basically the Neo Metal Sonic fight, where basically we ride the Doom Surf along a pathway while we shoot projectiles back at him. while avoiding other stuff and going alongside these rainbow rings just like in the Metal Sonic fight and attacking his eyeball. After that, he changes up reality, opening a portal in which we have to use our Doom thing. I forgot the name of this thing. Basically, Shadow's knockoff Splatoon form. Is he a kid or is he a squid? Anyways, we swing across the platforms a bit to get closer to Devil Doom, attack him again. The platforms do get much more larger, so we have to keep maneuvering through harder platforms, but you can actually cheese it through if you use the dash ability very well on vertical platforms. Although I will admit the final area is kind of the hardest because you actually have to like get the timing right down with the swinging. I don't know. I like the Doom morph or whatever it's called, but honestly, it can sometimes be like a hassle to deal with. Look, at the beginning parts of like when I first played this game, honestly, the Doom morph kind of just like kept fucking me over. But overall, I think I've gotten much more used to it, better than before. But after all that, the second phase begins, and then we start hearing All Hail Shadow. Great song, by the way. And Doom transforms into the Neo Devil Doom. What's the difference? He's got more hands, and he's got a weird-ass tail. Huh. Anyways, we start flying through this distorted reality zone, chasing after him, avoiding his many attacks, some of them being basically showing up like giant square platforms that we have to dodge around them and stuff, while also avoiding him using his giant tail head thing to swing at us. And then we have a chance to attack by basically deflecting these blue projectiles at him, leaving his huge eyeball at the bottom open in order for us to attack it. We keep this up for a few times, and honestly you can choose really easily if you just are that good, I'm just saying. But after all that, get him down to his last pit of health. He then activates Chaos Control. We use it, and then we block his head and kick it, and that's kind of it. And that's the end of the fight. Overall, it's a great fight, honestly. And it's a great way of, like, basically finishing off Black Doom. Anyways, the final fight ends off. Shadow then uses multiple Chaos Spears and destroys Devil Doom once and for all. And that's the end of Shadow Generations. Well, okay, not yet. After destroying the Devil Doom's egg thing, Rouge then shows up asking for the Chaos Emerald because Sonic's about to fight the Time Eater. By the way, Shadow gave Sonic a fake Chaos Emerald during their fight at the Space Colony arc, or I guess, I don't know, whatever it's called. I don't know. Anyways, Shadow gives Rouge the yellow Chaos Emerald and proceeds to go chat with Maria and Gerald one more time. Since everything's starting to go back to normal, Gerald and Maria are about to return to their point in time. Shadow, unable to handle that, plans to go after Rouge to get the Chaos Emerald and use Chaos Control, but Maria stops him, telling him that she doesn't want to be kept in one place. And even though she doesn't know what might happen next, I mean, we all do know what's going to happen next, she knows that no matter where they are, Shadow and Maria will always be in each other's hearts. Basically, the somber shit. I don't know. It's a great cutscene, honestly. It's hard to explain it because of how corny it is. But overall, yes, it's a great cutscene. And plus, I'm glad that it offers continuity for Shadow the Hedgehog because Gerald somehow fucking knew that Black Doom would betray him. I didn't even bring that up earlier, I'm sorry. Anyway, Shadow leaves and Maria and Gerald return to their point in time. And while Shadow's leaving, we see a tear run by him, or run by Rouge. And that's the end of Shadow Generations.
Overall, for what we got, even though it was even shorter than Sonic Generations, I think we got a pretty good title. We have enough inside this game to basically re-look through Shadow's entire story and honestly give it a sort of farewell. And what do I mean by this? Well, the Sonic lore experts have noticed throughout the past, like, latest series since Sonic Frontiers, that most likely whatever they're cooking up right now for the story, it's probably going to be something big. But games like Sonic Frontiers and this game right here, I feel like they serve to reestablish who these characters are going forward. So honestly, it'll be great to see what's going to happen for the next part of the series. But as for Shadow Generations, I honestly do hope that this serves to serve Sega a message that, or I guess Sonic Team, that we can have other Sonic games that don't have to feature Sonic as the main character. We've had games before in the past, like Rush, Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog, and 06, but 06 is like the main reason like why everything got set back to just being all about Sonic. You only play as Sonic. And honestly, Frontiers and Shadow, like I said, reestablished, you know, other characters in the Sonic universe can have a game. So, yeah, I do hope that we do get more games, maybe even more spin-off games, like, I don't know, Knuckles is Knuckles. But, overall, for Shadow Generations itself, let's talk about it. The stage selection was honestly great, a good selection. The boss fights are all great, as they are great connections to Shadow himself, even if Sonic isn't a boss fight, he's just a cutscene, but overall, yeah. And the final boss, I liked it. I do wish we had more involvement with mainly Gerald and Maria. I get it, Maria's like a 12-year-old, so, you know, she can't really do much aside from get kidnapped, and we would probably be doing a weird parallel back to Princess Peach. So honestly, I can understand why they didn't want to do that. But plus, like in the original generations, no one ever does anything aside from Sonic himself. So, hey. But, honestly, yeah, no, this game is honestly pretty good. And as for the modding community, which I want to give a quick shout out to, you guys honestly are great at modding the game. Like, trust me, I've gotten so addicted to like trying out different character mods and games that and ways that just change up like the UI and stuff. Like with this like mod that with these mods that basically turns it into a bit of like the final moments from Shadow the Hedgehog. But anyways, yeah, that's all I gotta say about the game, honestly. Overall, for the main package, Sonic X Shadow Generations, it's a great package. You know, getting the original Sonic Generations and combining with a brand new story, it's perfect, honestly. And yeah, that's all I gotta really say. If you guys did enjoy this video, then please do give it a like, and yeah, I'll see you later. See ya. Oh, right. This thing. Oh, there we go. Alright, that looks nice. Alright, let's get out of here. I'm feeling like Burger King.